right. Well, welcome to the final regular season edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric as we close out this beautiful 2025 NFL season. I'm John McDevitt. With me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. Eric, we were just talking just a second ago. What are we going to talk about? There's so many things. I think we'll start. I was going to start somewhere else, but we'll start in what I like to say is potentially crazy land. Let's just talk about a little bit about where the Giants are at. You had a preview, and basically your preview on BBI, bigblueinteractive.com, was, kind of stating who's running the Giants right now. And I know some people seem to jump all over the place because there is a standard push by some other podcast groups, shows that are out there that constantly keep saying, they're blaming John Mara. You're running this, John Mara. Well, we don't really know that to be 100% true. We haven't seen him since October 9th, correct?
The last time I think we saw him on camera was October 9th. Was right after they beat the Eagles, and he was given a game ball because he's fighting cancer, and Daboll specifically referenced that. I don't remember the exact phrase, but he
said something about this man talking about a tough son of a bitch doing chemo and radiation, and here he is and gave him the ball. Yeah.
Now, that being said, it was either Big Blue Shock or Mike in Ohio said that Jordan Renan said he's been seen at the team facility less than normal, but he's been there. So if he's been at the team facility in recent weeks, he's not at death's door, I would suspect. So anyway, apparently I'm a conspiracy theorist and driving traffic to the site because I'm raising the question, who's running the team right now? So I think it's a legitimate question, but apparently, look, if I'm driving traffic to the site, I'm terrible at it. I've never tried to do that. I get emails daily from people saying they want to pay me to put sponsored articles and drive traffic to the site, and I turn that all down because I don't want BBI to become this shit show of like bogus articles and stuff like that. And if I wanted to drive traffic to the site, I'd keep dropping things like, "Oh, we heard these juicy rumors," kind of things constantly, and I don't do that. I'm not like one of these bogus Twitter accounts that do that. So I just heard from a couple of people that he's not doing well, and it's been supported by other people on the site who normally don't even post this kind of stuff, saying they've heard the same thing. But we don't know. We'll find out soon. Somebody's going to have to come out and address the press in January.
Well, I think
this month, when the season's over, somebody's going to have to come up to the podium and say, Kafka's gone, Shane's staying, and who is that person? We don't know who that person is.
Well, so here's
John. We don't know.
Here's some things to think about because I've seen a pattern, and the pattern seems to be it started with who's the beat writer for the Giants? They always slip the stuff to let him put stuff out.
Schwartz.
Okay. Started with Schwartz, where he kind of mentioned Shane staying, and he kind of said through the draft, right? It was through the draft.
That Schwartz article is just perfect. Then Giants, it's so standard Giants operating procedure to go to Schwartz and have him say, put that out there.
As if it's his article, but we're kind of telling him to.
Yeah.
Well, then Adam Schefter made a comment where he said, for the time being, they keep caveating it. Not he's here for another year. He's going to be the GM. It seems to be like a transitional time, which would lead.
That's conspiracy theory, John. Shut up.
It is. But it would lead some.
These aren't the important big questions we have to be talking about. We're getting into the minutia here. That's what I've been told.
That's the funny part, though. So many people keep wanting to talk about, well, why is Shane staying? The organization is ridiculously stupid if you do that. Well, if you're somewhat unsure of who's going to be the captain of the ship, then it makes sense that you wouldn't necessarily get rid of the lieutenant right below him and go, okay, we don't know who's going to be captain, but we know you're not going to be doing it either. So we'll just go completely rudderless. We'll bring in a couple of uncles and cousins and they'll take care of shit for a while. So it makes sense that they're kind of trying to figure that out, if that's true. Like you said, though, you said this in the past podcast. We could have figured this out slightly a little bit more if any of the guys who get paid to do this shit had asked a simple question. excuse me, when you say ownership fired Daboll, who in ownership fired Brian Daboll? Was it John Mara? Like who made the
and the non-answer or answer would have been telling too. Like if we
exactly.
got I understand the question, but I'm not going to get into that kind of thing. That would have been almost as telling as getting the answer too, because that would have been too vague. That would have been like deflecting. So
Sure.
it's just so the whole thing. Look, there are reasons to keep Shane in the short term, and number one is he knows, it sounds like a movie. He knows too
Where
much.
the bodies
You got
are.
to get rid of him and make it look like an accident. They know.
Every Giant season looks like an
scouts
accident.
have been out there under his direction all year, looking at the prospects they are the most high on. He has it is historically the Giants have done this, that they won't fire scouts until after the draft because the scouts know too much. So if there is, if they're going to fire him, they may not want to fire him immediately. Now, that being said, that raises a whole bunch of other questions. If you do that, you would assume he's on a leash in terms of what he does on draft day. But if he's on the leash, who's holding the leash? Is it
exactly
Chris Mara? Is it Tim McDowell? Who's holding the leash that says you can't do anything stupid or crazy? In that case, but is that also what's happening? Is Shane going to be fired after the draft, or is he going to just be kept on and he's on the hot seat going into next year? And does that affect who would want to come here as a head coach? There's so many questions about this, and that's why I'm like, I can't believe the people on that thread that I posted the game preview are saying this will work itself out. These aren't important questions. Stop raising these things. I mean, I don't understand that mindset. This is one of the most important off seasons the Giants have ever had in their history. Don't you think?
Oh,
so?
I 100%.
Because of a variety of factors, because of John Mara's health, because they've gone through a series of failed GMs and head coaches.
Correct.
That they can't seem to get out of this. It's like Groundhog Day. They can't get out of it. And you've got Dart there now, and you've got veterans they're still in their elite area, but they're going to be aging out soon at some point. Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence will be on their downward trend sooner than later. So there's a lot going on, and it's got to get resolved. So these are big picture questions. And again, I want to know, is John Mara healthy enough? And you have had cancer. Your father has cancer.
I have more than one person right now. Yes. Yes.
You personally referenced what going through that process does to people mentally.
Yep.
Who's making the decisions right? That's not conspiracy theory.
Right.
So anyway, all right.
Well, and so the other thing with some of this too, sticking specifically to what you're referencing in terms of how people are reacting to what you're saying. There is a group of people, and I'm not saying specific. It's just a group, right? Who seem to think no matter what decision you say they're going to make, or they should make, or they might make, no matter what it is, that's the wrong decision when someone posts it. And
I'm not following you. Say that.
I'll clear it up. I know that was a little. So if I say they should fire both the GM and the coach, it's a wrong decision. If I say they should fire the coach but keep the GM, that's the wrong decision.
Oh, you're saying the people that are negative now.
Everything. Yeah. Everything is wrong. If Maras aren't replaced, it's wrong. And I'm thinking, okay, it can't be all or nothing that way. And the Giants' mistakes have been they always do things kind of one step too late. Or they do it in a way, and I think they actually react to the fans more than they should. They react to the fans when they think it's a positive situation, Saquon Barkley being probably the biggest one recently. They thought too many people would just love Barkley, and so John Mara loves Barkley, and he's the face of the Giants. A smart decision maker would have said, we're going to lose this guy. Let's get everything we can get for him and really put our team in a good position moving forward. They didn't do that. When they were doing things as far as like when they brought in McAdoo, they had a chance to move away from Eli. When they went to bench Eli, fans went in an uproar.
Right.
John Mara, by the way, who absolutely had to have known that Eli was going to be benched for that game. There's no way
He pretended he pretended it was a surprise.
Yeah, he was like, "What? No, we're not." And boom, McAdoo's fired, Reese is fired, Eli's the quarterback, and we go a couple more years. Then you bring in Daniel Jones.
It was kind of a cowardly move on his part.
Oh, it was pathetic. He reacted to instead of standing up there and going, "You know what? We do need to move on. It's time we move on." Eli knows it. We know it. We want to celebrate Eli for the rest of this year. And they didn't do that. But right now is the biggest, back to where you started with all this. This is the biggest offseason is this. The Giants actually have, I believe, and that was going to be one of the main questions I was going to ask you. We believe we have a franchise quarterback. It's the first time that they brought in a quarterback that didn't come in when you already had an existing, because the last time we did this was Daniel Jones, but you had Eli Manning was still there. Jackson Dart came in. You just brought some veterans in who are no more than placeholders for this year. We knew that. Jackson Dart becomes the guy, and he proved it very early on. Now you have your guy. So what you do from here is absolutely huge in how you do it. Who's making the call for the GM is huge, and we don't know that right at the moment, and I think that's the reason why he's staying. His record would indicate, wouldn't you say, if you just looked at the record, you threw his record up there as GM, you would be like, this guy can't possibly have a job next year, right?
Right. And again, there are areas where people can point that the roster has gotten better, but you can point to areas of the roster that it hasn't gotten better, and it's impacting the team. But ultimately, it comes down to the record, and the GM has control over things like the cap, roster management. We've talked. You and I have gone. We're not going to get into it again, but you and I have talked about how they've botched roster management. They've botched free agent selections. They've overpaid people. They've botched draft picks. And all teams aren't perfect, but the end result is that the team's record has gone from 9 wins to 6 wins to 3 wins to 3 wins, and we're in this rut that we can't get out of, and this predates him and predates the Dable, but we're in this rut that we just can't get out of. And what do you want to do another 10 years of this? I don't want to do another 10 years. What if we go, they win a Super Bowl in 2011. What if you and I are sitting here in 2031 and we're on our
20-year anniversary of that Super Bowl?
We're doing this still. I mean, that's why this is important. So don't tell me it'll get handled and don't worry about it and stop, it'll work itself out. I'm not going to go through another 10 years of this shit.
And I agree. And here's the thing, that just to be clear, because I'm 100% on board. If I'm running the thing, I fired Joe Shane. If it's me, I fire him. But I'm also okay if you don't fire him, if you come right out and say, this is where he's coming back. This is why we want him to come back. We as an organization made some mistakes, but we see where we kind of went off a little bit. We feel we've got some things in place. We're going to bring in a coach Jackson's our guy. We're going to build around him. If you said that and you had conviction, you could disagree with them, but at least they have conviction. But nobody's saying anything. But the guy seems to be coming back with basically your biggest wins of the last couple of years. This year were 2 games in the first 7. And then ultimately the last couple of years have always been in the back half of the season when you've already been eliminated.
What would it tell you if they say all that, but they issue a statement and there's no press conference? The team issues a statement.
Oh, it would tell me John Mara is not well. Yes.
So,
and that they they're making a decision to not make a decision. Yes.
Okay. But it'll be interesting. So if John comes out next week, then this has all been bunk. So if John comes up to the podium, and I hope he does, and for his own health's sake, I hope he's and the people that told me he wasn't doing well were misinformed or whatever you want to say it. But we'll find out. But if next week's going to be very interesting. Who is there going to be a press conference, and who's going to be talking at the press conference? What if they have a press conference and the person they roll out is Joe Shane? What would you think?
Oh, I would think that he's not well. They don't really have a person yet that's the guy. They're doing it sort of by committee behind the scenes, and the GM is. That's why that tidbit that keeps being added, or that little caveat for the time being through this, tells me that they're not sure where they want to go. Now, that also could mean, depending on who we get to come in here, and he may want his own thing. The one good thing about Joe Shane is this: I think he won't have a problem working with whatever coach comes in. I don't think he's probably the epitome of GMs who are really just strictly the GM for the coach. Like, he seems to go get guys the coaches want. The problem is, if, again, as I said before, if you just get shiny toys, but you don't have this system built out. I know Cy had a whole thing about, just having a system doesn't mean, but you do have to have a system. If you just get shiny toys, then those shiny toys are fine. But the problem is the rest of it is crap, and it just doesn't work. So if you bring a coach in and he's got a system and you get him the guys that he wants, I think that can function. I think it can work. I just don't know exactly what he is as a GM. When I look at some of the things that he has said, publicly said, Hard Knocks being the first one, but even most recently in the press conference, I've made mistakes. Nobody nailed them down on what those mistakes were. I don't make the same mistake twice. I'm thinking, no, 5, 6 times, sure, but 2 times, no. You go way past 2. So what have you learned? What mistake? And I think there's something specific that they have decided was the mistake. The question is, what was that mistake?
Well, there's more than that, though. I mean, look at the free agency period. What was the purpose of signing Golston? That wasn't a cheap contract. It wasn't super expensive, but what was the purpose of signing him? They don't seem to. Now, Golston had some injury issues this year, and that obviously set him back, but they never seemed to have a role on this team. So why did you go out and sign him? What was the purpose?
Right.
What was
right?
Hudson, obviously the purpose was for him to be the swing tackle, but that was a mistake because he flamed out immediately.
That's a huge mistake for the cost. Just the cost alone. You brought in a guy that was questionable because he does have a shit ton of penalties every year in the NFL, right. And he's been a liability as a tackle. But considering how weak they've been, but that was a lot of money you spent, and I would say by the end of the first quarter of game 2, his time here had pretty much come to an end.
They have had people under their thumbnails that they should know better, like when they had, and that biggie was Daniel Jones, and they gave him that contract. But let's look at Darius Slayton. They had Darius Slayton forever here, and they said, you know what? He's a $36 million wide receiver. No, he's not. But they had him, and these are the kinds of decisions that add up. That all of a sudden you find out, hey, we don't have as much cap room as we should have with a rookie quarterback on a roster because they're spending money on players that aren't doing anything, or worse, they're just not performing. So Slayton should not be on an NFL roster. He just can't catch. So he body catches everything. I actually think he's gotten worse. I think it's in his head now. But even the big plays he has, he's double catching it, or he's catching it with his body. And so it's those, and I don't want to harp on Slayton, but it's those kinds. We can go down every single free agent that they've signed. I'm almost more afraid of Shane with the free agent stuff now than I am with the draft, even though we can point to the Jalen Hyatts and the Evan Neals and the Deontay Bankses. I'm almost afraid more what they're going to do in free agent. And John Runyon was overpaid. I mean, he's not worth the money he's getting. That's the kind of stuff that adds up that I worry about. So and the other thing too, I keep thinking of, John, and maybe I'm over dramatizing this, is I can't get over the fact that when they finally decided to start Dart, how giddy Dable was, and he kept saying, "This is my decision. This is my decision."
Yeah.
I came away from that, and it came away from his, as you said, full bloom love during the pre-draft, post-draft process with him, thinking Dable wanted him to start sooner than later. I don't know if that's true, but I have a strong suspicion that Dable would have been completely okay with Dart starting the season and not Wilson. I don't know if that's true or not. But if there is something to that, who was kind of telling him not to do that? Was it Shane or was it somebody above Shane? That's what those are the kinds of questions that pop into my head.
So I heard, I hate bringing up other people. I heard on another podcast, I'll just leave it at that, that their assertion is that at the end of the year last year, Shane went to bat for Dayball. I don't 100% believe that to be true. Do you believe or think that that is true? That Shane went to bat for Dayball and that's why Dayball ended up staying?
I don't.
Or did they get separated and Mara brought back Shane, which we both agree happened before Dayball?
Right. It had to.
Then,
it had to.
Had to be, because why would you meet with Shane first and then have a meeting with Dayball with the two of you?
So that he had to have, and I think the fact that Shane's they're still debating whether Shane's coming back also says that they decided to keep Shane. I mean, Dayball's gone and Shane isn't. It's like Pat Leonard said, "Why are you still here?"
Yeah, that was great. I mean, just so direct too.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is this: as the season began, it makes sense that there may have been an organizational. We want to ease Jackson Dart into this. Brian Dayball, that phone call alone on draft night was already like, I'm taking this dude to the prom. It was like this was his guy, and the preseason did nothing to slow that down. The beautiful throw to Lil Jordan Humphrey against the Bills, just the way he was rallying his team, and I forget the bomb from Wilson on the Bo Collins thing. He didn't give a shit about that. It was, I can't wait till Dart gets in the game.
Yeah,
that was pretty clear. When they struggled and lost at those two games early on, the third game was shitty. I mean, it was just Russell Wilson couldn't get anything done. His inability to just make some things happen kept them from possibly getting points. Against a Kansas City Chiefs team, by the way, at the time, you're like, oh, they're multi Super Bowl winners.
Yeah,
they're a bad team. And the Giants blew that game there. They blew the Dallas game the week before. He comes out and says, Jackson Dart is my guy. This is my decision, clearly separating himself from Joe Shane and from the ownership. I'm making this choice. That, to me and you, we both said this, that was his thing of like, if I'm going to lose my job, I'm at least going to go down swinging. And he wanted to go, he was trying to win his job with his guy. And it didn't work out. But for the Joe Shane piece, it seemed pretty obvious, though, that somehow he got back. Dayball got kept. I think the one person that somebody went to bat for was Bowen. Because if you remember, mostly John Mara was like, we got to fix the defense. He made that comment multiple times during those couple of days when things were happening. And Dayball comes back and you bring the defensive coordinator back. I think Dayball brought his staff back. He put himself on the line. So it's weird.
I was surprised that Bowen came back based on John Mara's comments in January last year. I was. Yes.
So here we are. We're looking at, I can't believe it, we're looking at this again as where do we go from here? Everything that seems to be just everything we've talked about. Are you on board with the fact that it seems like at least for a couple of months, for sure in the offseason, that Joe Shane's probably going to be here?
Am I okay with it?
No. Are you okay with that? This is probably what they're doing. Not that you're happy with it, that we think this is what they're doing. This is what it seems like the direction.
Are you saying, is that what I think is going to happen?
Correct. Are you okay that this is what
I resigned myself to the fact that he's coming back, but I mainly resigned myself to that because at first, again, I heard from my sources he was coming back. One in particular, it was last week, said he's coming back to me. And I was like, shit. And then as soon as the Schwartz stuff came out, and was it Rappaport or somebody else said, or Schefter or Rappaport said the same thing.
Yeah, they both have had reports at different times.
And they kind of confirmed that. So I'm like, I've resigned myself. If Schwartz is putting out those articles and those two national guys are saying it, I've resigned myself to him coming back. But I have not resigned, but I'm not convinced he will survive after the draft. Maybe he will. I don't know. I don't know. It's this thing that you and I have talked about before. They have this way of doing things piecemeal and not just pulling the Band-Aid off and just starting from scratch, and we're doing it again here. And I've said before, their justification may be there's too much chaos going on right now. It could be they've invested so much in the infrastructure of the new setup, and they want to tear that all down again. Or it just may simply they like working with the guy and they feel he plays nice with everybody else. He gets along with other people. He's more of an errand boy, and maybe that's the reason. It could be any of those, and it can be also the thing about the draft. They don't want him spilling the beans until the draft. But I've resigned myself to it. The way I feel right now, I think I'm like most Giants fans. I'm just sick and tired of just this shitty product that they put out there. And I want somebody to come in here and seems to know what they're doing and fix it. You know, I mean, at least Shane is admitting now he keeps making mistakes, and he's going to learn from those mistakes. But in a way that's also not inspiring. You know what I mean? You don't like your guy to come up. You want somebody to have a little humility, but at the same time, you don't want somebody who openly admits he's learning on the job and isn't doing very well. Again, I keep using things like, if you have a plumber or an electrician or somebody, next time I come to your house, I won't set the kitchen on fire. I'm learning. I give me somebody who knows what they're doing from the start.
Well, again, it would be interesting to know, because mistakes happen. So that's the first thing that I'm going to say is, like, anybody who thinks these guys are perfect on it.
Draft picks will flame out.
They swing and miss all the time. I'm curious on, though, if you make that statement, if I say I've made mistakes, okay, what are they? Like, if your kid told you, I made some mistakes. Oh, okay, good. Why don't you tell me what those are? So that we're on the same page about what I think the mistakes were and what you think they were. Because if we don't know what are the mistakes, if you're just like, I should have gotten rid of Brian Daboll last year and we should have moved on. That's too easy, because your shit is over here. What did you do personally? Which has to be, I would first think, goes back to the offseason of 22. There's got to be some things there where he thought, because he said something. Remember, they said there was a process and we kind of went away from it a little bit. And I've always wondered if they got too high off the 22, the way the season went, the playoff win, and let's be honest,
there's no other way to interpret that comment, right? I don't
exactly. And they were the toast of the town, that they were going to the Knicks games and they were going to the Rangers games and they were on the big screens, and so there was a little ego going there, and I do think they went where we've already arrived, and they were probably a year away. So if that's the case, okay, but then how does that apply to now? Because you're not coming off a winning season. I keep hearing a lot of people think we have a lot of parts, and I do think we have some good parts. I'm just curious on where they think these good parts are, because if you look at edge, Brian Burns is on a huge contract, and yes, he's good, but we're playing with those numbers each year to make room. Thibodeau's on his last year now. What do we do with him? Do you give him another contract? But he would also be in your sort of swing, and I didn't get a home run, but it was more like a single, even though you were drafted in the top 5 with his pick. So how do you look at that? Do we give a huge contract to a guy who it gives you production less than maybe a third rounder does? I mean, he's a 2.5 sack guy who's holds the edge better than he used to. Who cares? That's not what I wanted from the 5th pick in the draft.
Right.
So what are his mistakes, and what does he learn from it? I'm just curious, what you think he thinks they are.
Well, I think he can't say them in his mind, and I understand it, because he doesn't want to throw anyone under the bus. But I think the way to interpret those earlier comments was they is exactly what you said, and other people in chat are saying right now, that they sort of overestimated their own team based on the 2022 season. And you and I have said this repeatedly for over a year now. What I just posted, which was this comment.
Yes.
2022 was a terrible season for them, not because of the record. And it was cool to go into Minnesota and win that game. People forget the Philadelphia game the week after, but it set them up for failure. And the other thing too is what pops in my mind is how fragile everything really is. This season, could have gone so much differently for them if they didn't blow so many games in the fourth quarter early on. Dable would still be here if that had happened. And we wouldn't be having this conversation. The Giants might be hovering around 500 right now if they just didn't. And because now they're in the last month or so, they know it's over. The players know it's over. They don't have the same energy level as the teams that they're playing. The Raiders, they did, because the Raiders are trying to tank. But Dable might have been here still, or probably would be here if they didn't blow all those games that they didn't blow the Dallas game, they didn't blow the Denver game, they didn't blow, we could go down the list, all the games that they were in, and if they and they wouldn't have fired. It just shows you how fragile all of this really is. But the thing I can't get over is to the comments that we hear from the coaches and the owners. I mean, not the owner. Well, yeah, the owners too, and the general manager. They've said repeatedly over the last 14 years that we will self-scout ourselves and look at where we're making the mistakes, and we'll correct them. And that goes to games like during the bye week where they say we're going to self-scout. We don't know why we can't score, but we're going to self-scout. We don't know why we're screwing up in the offseason, but we're going to look at everything. Well, none of that's worked either. So I'm tired of hearing them saying we're gonna look at ourselves and analyze everything, and the people that are making those decisions aren't doing a good job. They're not fixing it. Again, let's go back to my contractor thing. The guy saying, "Well, I'm going to look at what I'm doing wrong when I'm wiring your house," but it still happens, and so the guy's not good at his job. These people aren't good at their jobs. I want somebody who, when you look at these other teams that are fairly regularly competitive and always seem to be in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt, the Baltimores, the San Franciscos, the Kansas Cities, the Philadelphias. I want somebody who's running the team that gets the Giants, that's always sort of knocking on the door. We have people that have us vying for the top 10 draft pick for the last decade. So the people we have aren't good at their jobs. And we keep hiring different people that aren't good at their jobs. So to me, that comes back to the people who are hiring them, which comes back to the ownership. And again, that comes back to the question of who's running the team, which apparently is conspiracy theory. Nothing to me. Look, who the coach is doesn't matter to me right now as much as who the hell is running the football team. Who's going to hire the coach? That's what matters to me. Right. Somebody said on the forum, which I can't believe, I think it was section 125. He said, it doesn't matter right now who's running the team. They're going to put together a list of candidates and the 4 or 5 guys that'll be the coaches. And my point is, we need to have somebody who puts that list together who knows what they're doing. So if you go back and look at the list of candidates the Giants have interviewed in the last 3 or 4 times they've gone through this, the list of candidates they've interviewed isn't inspiring. So it matters. It's not just who they interview in the last 4 or 5, who's putting the list together originally, who's on the list. So that matters too.
Well, in this particular case, right, I keep seeing the list. It's a list that I could have drawn up.
Yes.
It's a list that you could draw up.
Yes.
You could chat GPT that list.
Yes.
It's not exactly like, who the hell's this guy? I've never heard of him before. And you've had football connections and people are like, this is a guy you really need to talk to. No, these are like Mike McCarthy. Everybody freaking knows Mike McCarthy is the big name, big free agent coach who's out there.
Wasn't there a report that he's already been interviewed too? Or no?
I did not see whether he had. It was really kind of vague. Someone mentioned that they might have done stuff, and then it was like
they interviewed him. They interviewed him the previous cycle. He has been interviewed.
Correct. For the previous one. Now, forget that list for just 1 second. There is a name right now that all of a sudden I'm a lot more interested in than I was before. And it seems to be it's picking up steam that Kevin Stefanski is going to be out.
I knew you were going to say that.
In Cleveland.
I knew you were going to say that.
My thought is, if he is out in Cleveland, he's got to now be one of the top guys that you're going to bring in and talk to for a couple of reasons. One, he was able to do something. His record's not great, but it was decent when you consider the shit show that the Cleveland Browns are. If you think the Giants are a shit show, the Giants are a beacon of stability. to what the Browns do behind the scenes, the guys they bring in, the assets they gave away to bring in a dude coming in with the worst off the field rep at the time that you could possibly get in Deshaun Watson, who has since that time done absolutely nothing for you.
Wait, why is Optimus saying this? Is there something that he doesn't? Do you know there was
I
Optimus?
haven't heard a word. Yeah, Op. Why are you saying that?
Why are you saying that? All right, sorry, and I'm trying to
No, no, no.
interrupt.
So to me, here's a guy that, and he's worked with multiple quarterbacks, and he's got success when those, even when his main guy went down. He has. If I want to smooth things over, oh, it's just an opinion. If I want to smooth things over going into next year with my franchise quarterback and a new head coach, I open the door to that ease of it in that the new head coach, Stefanski, has worked with your backup quarterback in Jameis Winston. Winston can easily be a guy that brings that together, helps Jackson acclimate to Stefanski, Stefanski to Jackson. And by the way, Jim Schwartz is the defensive coordinator over there, and he's not the greatest dude in the world overall. But you know what their defenses are? They're nasty, and what we are not is nasty. And
Jim Schwartz is a dick, but he would be the best defensive coordinator we've had since Spags easily. The guy knows how to coach a defense. He's a dick, but he knows how to coach a defense.
And they're nasty.
I hated playing against him because he was a dick. And because he was tough, He knows what he's doing. So look, John, the thing still comes down, and I wrote about this too, but it's nothing new. You and I have talked about it. Other people have talked about it on BBI. Big Blue Interactive. Drive traffic to the site. Do the Giants gamble and go with another unproven coordinator? I mean, proven coordinator, but unproven head coach. Or do they go for a retread that tends not to inspire people, but it's a safe play because you know you're not going to get somebody who's just utterly incompetent. He'll at least know how to run a team. Stefanski would be a safe choice for the Giants and not necessarily a bad choice. He's an obvious. If he's, I guess I haven't been following this. I mean, are they going to fire him, or is he leaving?
It certainly sounds like they're leaning to going away from him. That's even an hour ago, that was the latest.
That would be a no-brainer to me to have him on the short list and see what I saw a thread. I didn't read it, but something about why Stefanski's offense wouldn't work with Dart. I don't understand that, but I'd have to examine that a little bit more. But I would think Stefanski would be an obvious. If Harbaugh became available, I don't think that's going to happen. But if Harbaugh became available, I think that's an obvious choice.
There is something there to keep an eye on in Baltimore. Something's going on. The Lamar Jackson piece, the fact that got leaked out, that he falls asleep in meetings and stays up all night playing video games. Somebody let that out of the facility, and you get a feeling that maybe Harbaugh wants to move on. Like he wants to something a little just different. But there was a rumor that either he or Tomlin could find their way out of the situations that they're in after this season. That was even, I think, yesterday, I think, is where I saw that one.
Somebody that everyone respects very much on BBI told me Tomlin will not come here. If he's leaving Pittsburgh, he's going to the television booth.
That makes sense too. I mean,
so I don't think I would mark Tomlin off. I'm not saying who told me because I didn't ask him if I could release that. But if people knew who said it, they would believe it. But I don't think Tomlin is an option for the Giants. But if he was, sure, same thing. He's in the same.
And keep in mind, right? What might be the reason not to do that from the Giants' perspective? There's a family connection between the Giants and the Steelers, so you're gonna there's a reason why there's a Rooney Mara.
Well, that could work both ways, though. I mean, that could be like they're okay with him going to the Giants, and they have his blood. That would be, and maybe he's more comfortable because of that connection.
Possibly. But I'm thinking the Giants aren't going to recruit it and try to.
I was told if Tomlin's done in Pittsburgh, he's not looking to go someplace. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told. So,
all right. So we know coming up, Black Monday will be coming up. There's not going to be a huge surprise from the Giants' perspective unless they fire Joe Shane. We know the coaching staff at this point is gone. Now, I
there is
want to
only
ask
one
you,
media event that's been scheduled already. They have opened the locker room on Monday like they normally do. The players will be able to talk to the press on Monday, but there has been nothing scheduled with any team official next week yet.
So what did you think of the report that said the assistant coaches who are still under contract were told to kind of just take a vacation for a little bit? Why aren't you just firing everybody who you already know you don't want?
I don't know. I thought that was a little, what a tough, I mean, that's, people keep saying, get rid of people. And I understand that, but what a tough job this is. I mean, these assistant coaches, they get fired all the time too. And they're going to, and some of them work. I mean, they all work their tails off, and some of them are really good at their jobs. They are, but they're just going to be in limbo right now. They've been basically told to go on a vacation, and we'll get back to you. What a tough situation.
But they are getting they are under contract. They will get paid. They'll get paid.
Yeah, I know. It's just they know the hammer's about to fall.
But every week that rolls by, once you get after January, it starts rolling, 1 week in January, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You start to get to February. If you don't have a job, getting hired as a coach at that point gets to be very difficult. Most staffs are put in place. They're in place before they get to the combine, way ahead of time. So if you're sitting there waiting, going, well, I can't go anywhere because I'm under contract, but I also don't think I'm going to have a job. That really sucks for those guys. But it was
you and I
weird
are
to
on
say
the same
that.
page. We expect Kafka to be fired next week. Right?
And you can't, please, people, stop. He can't be the offensive coordinator. I suppose he could, but that would be the worst possible thing you could do. He wasn't even good as the offensive coordinator. They put him in jail for like a whole year with Daboll, just had him doing nothing, gave him play calling back this year. He's just as guilty with the bad record as Daboll was. You can't bring him back.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, we'll have to see what's going to go on. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly this moves. Are we going to immediately find out that there's going to be a press conference early next week, or is it going to be silence for a while? That, to me, again, that's where people are saying, don't ask those questions, Eric. That's conspiracy theory. It's not conspiracy theory. Who and when is going to come out and say something? It's not going to be Kafka.
Well,
it might be Shane. And if it is Shane, where's the owner that usually comes out and says something?
Right.
But maybe they wheel John Mara out there. Maybe he's fine. Maybe he's getting better. Maybe
I know you didn't mean it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of.
Can you imagine if they did? Oh my God, it would be like a scene from Parks and Rec where the Sweetums guy who was barely alive in the wheelchair and the younger wife is just if there is a naked portrait of John Mara in a wheelchair hanging in somebody's office, I'm done. I'm done with this team.
Well, I think it could be worse. It could be Weekend at Bernie's. I mean,
Bernie.
I don't know. We will have to find out. I mean, to me, again, that's why that's why it's so fascinating to see what happens next week in terms of who comes to the mic.
Right.
And does anyone come to the mic? I assume someone's going to come to the mic. And I still can't get over. There have been some reporters who have been more, I don't know if the word's confrontational or what, but have been, Dan Duggan has been a reporter recently. He's questioned what the Giants have done. Matt Leonard did a great job in that press conference, but I still can't get over the fact that these questions aren't being raised or asked by any of the reporters yet. Like, why isn't anyone else talking about next week yet? And they haven't been talking about next week. Are you and I making too much over this?
Well, first off, for anybody, let me just help you real quick. A theory would mean I would state a hypothesis of what I believe is going to happen. That would be my theory. You are asking questions. Who's running the team? Who will come out? That's not a conspiracy theory. You're not going, no one's going to come out. They're going to send out, I was going to use a bad word. They're going to send out a small person out there waving signs and going, "We'll see you next week." That we just are going, who's going to be making? Because normally it is John Mara. Normally, John Mara is the guy you see when the season's over, good or bad, and he's out there about what we're not going to put up with, as Bobby Skinner has shown those videos 2019, 2021. I mean, it's the same shit over and over again that he just says the same stuff. So who's going to be that guy? And that would be, or person, that would be the indicator of like whether John Mara is actually running things or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's absolutely true, but it is an indication that it's true.
Did we see Mara at, again, they usually have like owners meetings during the season. Like there's one or two of them. I don't even remember. Remember in the past where he's come out in the owners meeting and he said something and some of us like myself have gotten, why is he commenting on the quarterback? I don't remember him. They usually get sound bites from him at the owners meetings.
Because he's a big member of the competition committee.
And they'll come out and they'll ask him, what do you think you're doing wrong with Daniel Jones? And he'll say something. And why is he talking about Daniel Jones at the owners meet? I don't remember him even being.
And I believe that in season 1, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was early October. So I don't think so.
I don't remember him speaking this year at the owners meetings.
I don't remember seeing that at all. So yeah, it's been the weird part too is that Goodell's been at the last 2 home games for the Giants, but you haven't seen Goodell with John Mara. You didn't see John Mara there. The commissioner of the league is there. John Mara's not there.
Oh, that's interesting too. So we know that. So he wasn't seen sitting next to him.
Every camera shot did not show Goodell with John Mara at all.
But then, so why is Jordan Renan saying he's been seen at the team facility? We'll have to find out. We'll just have to.
That's a good question because that's a weird.
I don't think I can look if wait, where is this? Oh my God, let's read this. Wait a minute, Eric, making too much of this because these reporters. I guess, yeah, but I would like to get. Just because I think the non-answer would be as telling as the answer.
I think you have to ask the question though, right? That's the point though. You have to ask that. That's your job as the media person to be. These are legitimate questions when you use the generic term ownership fired Daboll. Who? Like none of the ownership was part of any conversation. That you didn't see John Mara didn't release a statement. There was nothing that said, I want to thank Brian Daboll for his time here. What he was gone.
And I was getting people telling me comments that Tisch would make these decisions. I don't think Tisch has ever made any football decisions. Do you? I think he's a stamper. I think he comes in. Look, this is my, again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong on this. I get the impression that John Mara and the Maras run the football operation, and once they have made a decision, Tisch is brought in to also sort of see if he's okay, but it's always kind of more of a what's the word I'm looking for? They do it more. It's a ceremonial thing more, the statement. And it's not the word I'm looking for, but they kind of do it to pay respect, to give him the impression that he's having a say in things. But I never got the impression that Tisch is saying, I want to hire this guy. I want to hire this guy. And there's a battle going on between him and John. If that's happening, I'm glad. But I don't get that impression that Tisch. I think Tisch, that when they make a statement, usually when the Giants make a statement, make a decision, they'll issue a press release and it'll have a quote from John Mara, and then at the bottom it'll have a quote from Steve Tisch. They'll be and it'll be like somebody in the PR department drafted it up and they'll send it. I get it in my inbox because I'm on the press thing, but I always get the impression that they do it more for show than rather than any significant. But what's your opinion? Do you think Steve Tisch is actively making football decisions? I don't get that.
I think Steve Tisch is the Louis Litt to Harvey Specter. I think every now and then he says something and he kind of helps out a little bit, but we all know Harvey is making the decisions and doing the stuff. If you don't know, I'm referencing it. Suits, the show Suits. I think people use Steve Tisch as sort of, like he's the white knight who will come in and he'll push when when they think things are going sideways with Merritt. They're like, Mr. Tish, come in and save us. Stop him from doing that. And I think these guys talk together. If you ever notice when even in Hard Knocks and other stuff, they don't sit buddy. It's kind of a little bit away. They say stuff. They're not really like bouncing things back and forth between each other. I agree with you. I think they bring him out. I do think he has a little bit more sway, though. He does have a voting piece. I just don't think he gives a shit. I think he loves the fact
somebody
that
in chat said that too. I don't know where it was, but somebody says, yeah, here it is. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know. I just get the impression that
I think he likes being the owner.
Yeah, I think it's a status thing for them. But at some point, you have to wonder, because the Giants are kind of a joke now. What kind of status are you getting from that right now? I mean, your name's kind of being dragged through the mud because the team has been so bad for so long. And then there are times when, the few times you do see him, it's like that shot with him. We've made fun of Bill Belichick with his girlfriend. Remember that shot with Tish in the stands with the young girl? I mean, I don't know. I just don't get the impression that Tish. So those who are saying that Tish will pick up the ball on this, I don't.
Tish's office probably has a casting couch.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I think too. There are other Hollywood types that have gotten in far worse trouble than we won't name names, but
yeah. So we know Black Monday's coming, so we'll deal with that. We'll see where that's going. The offseason, we've already we're just going to quickly look at. We've got the coach is going to be decided, GM possibly decided. There's a lot of stuff that we'll be looking at. I want to turn my attention. I want to turn the attention to the game now. Less about the game first and about personnel. Let's start with the most interesting one. The Giants ruled out a number of players, including one guy, Theo Johnson, who's been ruled out because of illness. He was so sick he was able to catch the Knicks game last night.
Yeah, he missed the last game. That must be some sickness. Again, we're talking about a 24, 25-year-old athlete at the top athlete on the planet being sick for 2 weeks, but he's okay to go to the Knicks game. Yeah, so don't tell me they're not at least trying to tank. So, and there are people who say, well, they didn't tank against the Raiders. Well, the Raiders are just better at tanking than the Giants are.
Yeah, so here's the thing, though. This is where that's funny. Okay, Flannel's funny about if you really want to tank, you'd have him play. Well, see, here's the thing. If that's the case, right? If they are kind of tanking, who's making that decision? Number one. Number two, now you're risking your franchise quarterback when you take out his best receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson. You take out the number one tight end in Theo Johnson. Your offensive line is missing its left tackle. Your center may or may not play. Is he out again?
Schmitz is on IR.
Oh, they put. Okay, so he's out. So
look, they put 4 guys on IR before the Raiders game that probably normally they wouldn't put. They also didn't play 2 other guys that could have played against the Raiders. Look, players don't tank, coaches don't tank.
Yeah,
so,
this is above.
So when we say tank, we're saying they just don't. Whoever's making who's making the decisions? That's what you were going with this. Somebody has made the decisions. It may be Chris Mara, who we don't know, who's saying we're going to take away some of the things that you need. And the Raiders did the same thing. Remember, Max Crosby said, "I can play."
He was shooting hoops in his own gym, jump shots, fall away.
Jackson Dart, and one of the reasons I believe in Jackson Dart, it's not just because he can play. I love his attitude. I love his competitiveness. If you play Jackson, and he talked about this, Jackson Dart doesn't like to lose at anything. He would be if you put him up against a 10-year-old playing a pickup game of basketball, he'd probably dunk on the kid. He doesn't like to lose. And that's so Jackson Dart isn't going to tank. Kafka doesn't have a reason to tank because he's looking for his next job. Same with the assistant coaches. But if you take out enough players like yes or no, do you think Wan'Dale Robinson could play this week? He finished the game last week. Why wouldn't he be able to play?
He could play.
I mean, Theo Johnson hasn't been sick for 2 weeks and he's going to Knicks games. He's not that sick. So they are obviously removing guys from the chessboard here. So anyway, I stepped on your toes on this. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's kind of funny, right? Here's the thing: the Giants are so dumb in some ways. I mean, in many ways, but you went out of your way to force feed the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson so he could get his 1,000 yards, so he could improve his position to want even more money.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you sit him the next week.
I know it's. I thought the same thing. You just made it harder to re-sign him. And oh, by the way, he's out the next week. But he didn't come out of that game injured, so he could play.
So
the guys that aren't playing tomorrow, most of them, if not all of them, could play. They just ruled out a bunch of guys because they're soft. They're half-ass tanking is what they're doing. So, but I also believe that there's a really good chance they'll beat Dallas, and like people say, they'll pick 5th or 7th or whatever they'll pick, and be like, "You dumbasses, you just did it again." So, but the Cowboys aren't the Raiders. The only thing I will say is the Raiders were really trying to tank that game. So we'll see.
Well, see, there really is no benefit for the Cowboys to tank the game.
Hurt the Giants is the only thing.
But again, that also only hurts them if these other teams win their games. If some of these other teams lose their games too, well, then nothing really hurt the Giants. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the Giants have been picking towards the top of the draft anyway. I mean, you almost want them to.
It's the trade down value. That's what I'm looking at. I want somebody to get
exactly that's the thing. Now the Giants do have an outside shot still at the number 1 pick. A lot. The Raiders would have to beat the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are bad right now with where they're at. Dallas is going to play Dak Prescott. It sounds like
they're weak in the secondary,
but their running back situation is depleted.
Yeah,
like they are like, I think Blue is going to be the starter, and they'll probably use their fullback will get some playing time, and I don't know who else is on there for the team. So what incentive do they have to? And it's outside, it's cold. I mean, Dallas is just looking to get out of here. The only way the Giants can actively manage to tank this thing, truly, without telling players to purposely play badly, which you can't do, and if that happens, you're in big trouble, is maybe you go, you know what? Jackson took a big hit. I don't want him getting hit anymore. We're going to put – if Russell Wilson is active for the game, that'll be very telling. That'll tell you that Dart's
not going to expect that, though. I just hope the Giants run the ball a lot, try to get the game over as quickly as possible.
With Eric Gray.
And I just don't want to come out of this game with some ACL tear for somebody, like a Brian Burns or a Jackson Dart, or I don't want somebody – that would be the ultimate kick to the nuts if they get another serious injury in a meaningless game. I just want this game to be over in like 2 hours and 50 minutes with both teams just trying to run out the clock on this season. I don't care I want the Giants. I'll come out and say it. I want the Giants to lose this game. I hope they look good losing the game, but I want them to lose the game. And the most important thing to me is to come out of this with no serious. It's almost like a preseason game. Don't come out with any serious injuries. Because anyone who gets hurt now is probably not going to play next year.
Well, this year,
2026.
That's a huge thing too, because some of those guys, if you were looking to get rid of them, if they get hurt, that changes.
On the IR.
Now you're in trouble. Now
so it's not. You're exactly right, John. So it's not just the big names. You don't want somebody like some scrub that you don't want like Jalen Hyatt to finally get active and tear up his ACL, and he has to spend the entire year on IR, and you're paying his first contract. You just get this game over. Just get it over. This season sucked. Look, let's talk about the positives in this season. And people are going to say, well, this is why you keep Joe Shane. They're going to use that argument. I wouldn't go that far. They had a really good draft. So the people that were freaking out about Abdul Carter were wrong. He's going to be a really good football player, provided he doesn't get hurt. But Abdul Carter was the right pick. Jackson Dart is the best quarterback in the draft. So it looks like he was the best quarterback in that draft, and the Giants were able to get him. So they got Carter and Dart and their franchise quarterback in the same draft, and you'd say, well, that's enough. Beyond that, Darius Alexander is now looking like a good player. If Cam Scadaboo can even be remotely the same player he was, he looks like a stud.
Right.
So they got a lot, and Marcus Bowe might be our starting tackle next year. I mean, the draft was so they're and Brian Burns had a fantastic year. So there are things in Andrew Thomas, we've kind of minimized the Andrew Thomas season. He, because he was one of these guys. He's another guy I think could probably play, by the way. He has the hamstring, but I don't think it's that serious. But he's another guy that we didn't know coming off those injuries if he was going to be the same player. And he had one of his best seasons. And I would argue, and Cy argued, he easily should have been in the Pro Bowl. He's playing as one of the, if not the top tackle, he was close to being the top tackle. So they had some really good performances this year. There is something to build around on this team. They've got pass rushers, they got a left tackle, they got a quarterback. If Burnt, and they got some young players in the draft that look like they're going to be really good players for them. So there are positives on the season.
I mean, if you look at what Jackson Dart did, and
it's great.
And the fact that he in a regular season game where he was the starter, he played a quarter and change with Malik Neighbors, and that was it. I mean, he didn't have Malik Neighbors for most of the. Yeah, he was still producing.
Dog shit wide receivers, a tight end who dropped the ball a lot, and yet he was able to rush for 9 touchdowns? Does he have or 11 or 9? 9, I think it's 9. And he's thrown for a bunch of touchdowns on a team that is devoid of receiving talent. I mean, we're talking about bottom of the NFL bad wide receivers, and the fact that he did this as a rookie with a coaching change, they're firing the coach, by the way, and a shitty, awful defense that doesn't help him out. The Giants, remember what they said in the Raiders game? This shows you how bad they are. Remember the pirate chest?
Oh my God, they were so bad. Yeah.
They had two of their 8 interceptions were against the Raiders. So they had 6 interceptions coming into the Raiders game. Fuck the pirate chest, you fucking assholes. I mean, it's like Jerry.
Damn, we got hot.
It's like Jerry Reese's Super Bowl clock. Remember that?
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Yay for the pirate chest. I mean, but Jackson Dart didn't even have a defense getting him the ball back. I mean, he had a remarkable season. I really like the kid. I just hope they don't ruin him.
Yeah, I think people put too much on after he came back from the concussion. The season's over. The Giants were becoming more and more depleted. You're playing at that time, that the first game back was the Patriots. They're a team that's we're taking our shot at the Super Bowl this year.
Patriots might win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they legit put things together the way you would want. It's the way you hope the Giants can do something this coming off season, get the right coach, bring some other pieces in. You got your quarterback already. They spent money though at a couple of positions. It's probably only going to work for 1 year though, because their money spent on the one wide receiver is already going to start to go down the tubes when the Diggs brothers, the Diggs brothers, they are quality individuals. But they are doing their duty to help repopulate the planet. Jesus, both those guys. You hope that things will change. I like Dart a lot. There's a lot about him that I think you can build around. He has to change some things, but every young quarterback has, like Patrick Mahomes did a lot of shit that he got away with because he just had a lot of talent too. But some things that are now kind of catching up to him that he needs to kind of adjust as things go along. I think Dart just needs to adjust to it a little bit. I think he needs a coach that's going to come in and say, okay, we're going to use you for some of these things. I'm going to want you to kind of tone some of this other shit down. You don't need to run the guy over. Doesn't mean I don't want you to run forward, but don't stiff arm the dude. Don't go looking for contact. And if you get to the sidelines,
were you holding your breath when he ran for the touchdown against the Raiders when he had like 3 guys?
As soon as I saw him, I'm like,
on that play too.
As soon as that's the other thing. He has a habit of, and his helmet did kind of come off.
Yeah,
he has a habit of bringing his hands to his head afterwards. And if they're watching you already, which they are, every time you do that, they're going to be like, oh, we got to check him out, get him off the field.
He's going to have that stigma from now on because there's this myth around him that he's had a bunch of concussions this year. He's had 1 concussion this year, but there's this myth. If you talk to the average non-Giants fan and some Giants fans, they're under the impression that the guy has had 5 concussions already this year. So that, and the NFL officials, that seems to be in their head now. So you're right.
I think part of this, though, was brought on by themselves.
Yes.
When Brian Daboll did that stupid ass thing of running into the freaking tent and trying to get him out there, because that said, I'm not worried about him health-wise. I'm worried about winning this game, getting back on the field. And that was a bad look. And then Dart and Scadaboo did not help it when one of the guys, I think it was Richard Sherman, on the prime telecast said, "Oh, we've all done that thing where we grab our leg afterwards to try to make it look like." I was like, "Oh God." But this is, that's a great indicator, though. The league can only police concussions out of it so much. When these players go out of their way, they know and the defensive guys are taking shots at guys' heads. They don't give a shit.
We saw that in Hard Knocks. We saw that where they said go after Dart.
Oh yeah, they know.
So they know. So this is going to be an issue for him going forward, even if he tones it down. I'm not overly worried about it. It is what it is. We'll see what it is. I just like the kid. I like his competitiveness. I like his talent. Look, when Daniel Jones had his first season, I was high on him if he could cut down on the fumbles, and he did cut down on the fumbles, and that myth continued with him for a long time too. I kept telling people he doesn't fumble as much as he used to. He cut them that, but that myth was there.
Right.
But like you and I have talked about, they not only coached the fumbles out of him, they coached the touchdowns out of him. That was a problem with Daniel. One of the many problems with Daniel Jones was he stopped scoring. But his rookie year, he was scoring. What I never really liked with Daniel Jones was his personality. To me, he was like even a blander Eli Manning, which is hard to do. And but Jackson to me just seems like, he's got a bit of that frat boy thing going on, but he just seems like he's a leader of men, and he's exciting. So I like the combination, the competitiveness, the leader of men, the talent, the toughness. I just like all of that package. Does that mean he's going to be an awesome quarterback? That's like Cy said in a recent review, you got to wait 3 or 4 years on all of these quarterbacks to find out what they're going to be like. I got a good vibe with him, and I got a good vibe with Cam Scadaboo as long as Cam can come back from that. I'm really worried about that injury because that sounded like a really bad ankle injury. I'm really worried about that. But if he can come back, those two to me are the attitude they bring is almost as important as their talent to me. That they just pick up the whole team a way Daniel Jones couldn't pick up the team, that Saquon Barkley couldn't pick up the team emotionally. I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about emotionally, like lifting everybody up around them. And they're fun. And the reason I know they're fun, again, are my kids. My kids got excited watching these two play, and they became sort of a social media phenomenon for young people that aren't even like that focused on football. They were like, my daughter loves Cam Scadaboo. She loves him. And it's because of who he is. It's as much as the way he plays. So it's that kind of, so it's a vibe, it's a spirit. I don't know how you describe it, but yeah, that's something to build around as long as he's back in the building now, and people are fired up that Cam's back. Cam Scadaboo's back there. So I just hope he's okay.
So, what's kind of interesting, if you kind of tie it back to where we were in the beginning, an indictment, I guess, on Joe Schoen is just think of some of the players who are going to be on the roster for this game and probably active, some not, but probably active, that he brought in, that he drafted, that have done absolutely nothing. Jalen Hyatt. You got Azudu didn't even make it back. They never bothered. And they
said that was because of other injury. The big one is Evan Neal. Evan Neal's like in his third injury since being back. How does he have a neck injury now? I mean, what is going on?
That bus label is pretty. That bus label is heavy to carry around.
The guy didn't take a snap this year. He was active in one game. He didn't play in that game. The other games he was inactive. He's hardly practiced, and I think he's on his third injury. I mean, how is that? What is going on with Evan Neal? So are they just lying, or is he really hurt?
What would be the reason of lying? You could just make him inactive. You've been making him inactive without being injured.
Well, why did they bring him off IR? He's not even practicing. Designated to return.
So you got Hyatt, Azudu, who didn't get brought back. You've got Neal, Eric Gray. We've carried Eric Gray for years.
He's a hell of a kick returner, John. He's
and then you didn't even use after like a couple of games, you didn't even bother using him. It's like, why is he on the roster?
Your guy. Are you bringing back Deonte Banks because of just for his kick returns?
No, but
I knew you were going to say that.
But I will say this: I if another coach comes in and says we want him as the kick returner, I'll say this: he's pretty darn good. He's been amazing at avoiding contact on defense.
Yeah, I know.
Just apply it to returning.
He's great at keep away, so that's why he's a good kick returner. So,
but it is funny though. If he wasn't a first-round draft pick, you would say he could carve a niche out as just being a kick returner, and he does it pretty well. I just don't want him on the team. He's the epitome of another, he was just a bad choice and just had his play, his attitude has been pretty shitty. But if a different coach came in and said, no, I want him as a kick returner, we'll take care of everything else. Okay. That's
what a waste though. He's physically gifted. He's a big, strong, fast athlete. I mean, he should be a really good run defender as a cornerback. He's big and muscular. What a waste. What a waste of talent just because he doesn't want to stick his nose in there and tackle somebody. I mean, that's his big, that's his more than, so, the big knock on him coming into the year, what were we always talking about him? He won't turn around and play the ball.
Yeah, he doesn't play the ball. Yep.
That's not what's going to hurt him. It's his inability to play the run. That's what's going to get him out of the NFL is he just won't stick his nose in there and tackle somebody. He keeps giving out the outside.
And it looks intentional too.
Yeah. You can't play defense like that. People keep saying our defensive linemen stink because we can't defend the run. It's 11 people. It's the linebackers. Our linebackers are awful. Bobby Okereke finally had a good game, but he's been awful this year. They missed McFadden, and Muasau is not stepped up to the plate, and the guys behind him are just dregs. And our inside linebackers are awful, and then the secondary has a big play in run defense too. So it's not so the defensive linemen may be doing everything they're supposed to do to cover their gaps, but if Deonte Banks lets the running back get the sideline, that's not on the defensive lineman. That's on Deonte Banks. So
yes, Stephen, to answer your question, yes, I absolutely hate Deonte Banks. I was calling for it all during the summer.
Oh yeah, if you want, John. There's two people that John was right about from the beginning, and one was Deonte Banks, and the other one was Jalen Hyatt. So,
and the fact that they're on the roster still, Jalen Hyatt screwed up the pass play that was the interception late in the game. He didn't do one well for Jameis Winston late in the game. I think it was against the Packers. The fact of the matter is, though, you are playing nobodies at wide receiver. Why aren't you just playing them just to make it out the rest of the year and make him prove anything, or just absolutely confirm your thought that he can't do it? Because if you're not going to do that, I don't understand why he's even still here. Why do you just make him inactive?
He is a wide receiver that they traded up for that looked exciting because he again, to the Alabama game. But he's on the worst wide receiver room in the NFL, and he's been inactive in games where players that the Giants signed off other practice squads a week or two before are playing ahead of him. That's how bad his season has been.
Oh yeah,
he is the buried beyond being buried. He's been inactive in games where, again, people have been taken off the street and are playing ahead of him right now. That's how bad it is. I mean, he's behind Gunner. I mean, who was not known for being a wide receiver. I mean, he's been behind guys on this team that you would think he's been given the golden opportunity. He will never get a better chance to have done something than this year, and he did absolutely nothing with this year. He did nothing, and this was. Talk about an opportunity of a lifetime. Everybody else, they cleared the deck for him, and he still couldn't do it. And it's been so bad that they've said, we're not even going to activate him. He's not going to be
inactive each game. We're shorthanded. That's all right.
The worst thing will be is if he's inactive with Wan'Dale out. If he's inactive on this weekend with Wan'Dale out, Holy hell! I mean, I
Well,
expect him to be active tomorrow.
I mean, he has no other value, right? They don't even really want to use him as a kick returner. He certainly doesn't cover kicks. So if he's not playing wide receiver and he's not returning the kicks, he's not covering the kicks, what the hell is he on the roster for?
I don't know.
That's the thing, is you carry him, and that's one of the ones where you think that's a Joe Shane thing, where I don't want to have my guy cut. I drafted him. Well, we can let him go in the offseason when we're dealing with other stuff and it gets hidden. But right now, if you cut him, so go back to the end of the training camp. What did we hear, right? There were supposedly teams interested in Evan Neal and Jalen Hyatt. I think that was the Giants trying to go, hey, anybody? We're hearing people want, does anybody? But they kept them. They kept both guys who literally did nothing but hog up salary cap space and a roster space, and they didn't play. Evan Neal was so bad that even active, he didn't even play on kick block.
And this gets back to roster management. You and I have talked about the kicking situation, but it's the other stuff like this. It's like, why are these people taking up roster spots that they don't even use? They're just there. And
right.
It's got to be ego. It's got to be, their draft picks.
It has to be something along those lines. Has to be.
I mean, I don't know. It's what a waste. And it's going to be over. We should wrap this up, but it's going to be over. Next week is going to be fascinating. Do they come out, as they should, and have a press conference? Who's going to speak? I assume we're going to hear about Kafka on Monday, right? We'll hear Monday that he's gone.
I would think so. Yeah.
Maybe they'll cut the assistants loose then, but despite the fact that we heard that they're going to be, go on vacation for a while. I'm very curious. And if my inbox and on Monday and Tuesday, do I get sent a media schedule by the Giants? I get a media schedule daily from them about upcoming press conferences. That's why when people see me posting that on Twitter, and they see me posting it in the forum about what time their media events are, I get that from the Giants. I'm going to be fascinated if I get that on Monday from them. Here's the upcoming schedule of media events this week. Is it going to be silence? That, again, asking the question, as you said earlier, is not conspiracy theory. And it is important. Right. Who's determining these things? Who's going to be, and when they have the interviews, who's going to be that's what we haven't talked about, John. Who's going to be interviewing the coaching candidates?
Right.
Is John Mara healthy enough to sit and go through a 4-hour interview with I assume these interviews last hours, right?
Well, they should.
Right. If you're interviewing Stefanski, if he's free, he's in that meeting for 4 or 5 hours, right? Right.
I would think so. What would be really cool? And I don't know one I have a connection to. I don't know if you do either, but I'm going to try. I'd like to get somebody who was a coach and just have them come on to what is that process like when you're in an interview, right? We've all interviewed for jobs, but when you're a coach and a proven coach, right? How do you, what do you ask the guy in a freaking interview that's, because to me, you already have your mind sort of leaning towards the guys you might be interested in. So it's really just how their personality fits. So what are you asking them? What are you asking them to prove?
Well, they may go through things like the personnel and what would you do with Dexter? What would you do with Burns and Abdul Carter and that kind of thing? I don't, what do you share vision for the offense with Jackson Dart? Where do you see as the weaknesses on the Giants? But I would think those interviews last a long time. The question again, is it conspiracy theory to ask, is John Mara able to sit in an interview that lasts 5 hours when he's sick? I don't know the answer to that. So if he's not doing that, it's not Tisch, right? Tisch isn't interviewing the coach, right?
I wouldn't.
Right?
Is he part of it? I mean, I don't know.
I always thought they brought Tisch in to meet the guy
to kind of sign off and be like,
sign off on it. That's the word I was looking for. Phrase I was looking for before. Sign off. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
I always got the impression, John, that Tisch is a courtesy, signs off on these things. And again, if there's a major problem, he could probably bring it up. But Optimist said earlier that he posted that Tisch opposed Mara being the GM in 2007. I think that's been out there before, but I don't know if that's true or not. But But who's conducting the interviews for the next head coach? And is that a legitimate question to ask? I think that's a fair question to ask. But I'm told I'm trying to drive traffic to the site if I ask that question. I don't see. These are the things that pop into my mind. If they're not popping in your mind, I don't get it. But that they're popping.
Yeah.
Who's,
no, I look. First off, John Mara has never been this quiet in a long time, and yes, he's sick. So one thing I want to bring up.
Wait,
somebody
does
else.
Stephen Kaufman know something? Or
Well, I don't know. I'm put it up there because it was there, and if he wants to follow up with it beyond that, that's fine. I don't. Again, I try not to mention other people's stuff, especially if I'm saying it negatively about them. In this case, it's not a negative thing. I'm bringing it up because there's something about you I want to bring up too. So, but Bobby Skinner, but Bobby Skinner had said something on his most recent podcast where he did his Tony Awards, which caught my attention because I had not heard it before. He said he doesn't want to hear the excuses about John Mara being sick and blah, 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 because John Mara is still making the decisions, blah, blah, blah. And he had already heard that John Mara was sick weeks before it was actually announced. I'd never heard anybody make a statement. Bobby Skinner. I never heard anybody anywhere else say they had already heard this, they already knew this, whatever. To make statements that John Mara is still running the show, I don't know how you can say that when nobody has seen him. So unless you can come out and say, I have proof, I know it, he is, you can't keep saying he's running the show, and if he wasn't, they would have put somebody else. Because we don't know what's going on behind it. Nobody knows.
It depends on how sick he is. I mean, he could be fine. He could be healthy enough to still make the big decisions. Like, he could have cancer and say, "I want Dable fired." He could have done that. The question but the question is, should he be making those decisions?
Well, see, but again, what begs to kind of the question is, if that's the case, then the fact that they keep saying the rumors, Joe Shane's coming back, and it's for a finite amount of time that it's going to be for, or at least that it's guaranteed to be for, is potentially just a period of time. That says that somebody isn't really able to do some of these things, and we certainly can.
Well, the thing is you and I better be ready.
Oh yeah, no.
We better we might do our first breaking news type podcast, which would be kind of funny.
Oh, so this is a good point right here. Wrong one, right here.
It could be late in the night. I've got a New York Times robe. I'll be in my robe.
Steven said he looked at the whole thing and that Renan never said.
Oh. Okay. See, I never heard that. I just heard. I'm going on what somebody else said again, who doesn't tend to post things that aren't true. Said he heard Renan say that, and I was like, oh, well, that's contradicts what I heard.
Right, so the second thing that I wanted to bring up is on it's Giants Nation's show, Bobby's show. They do it the Tony Awards, his Tony Awards, which is it's a Kadarius Tony Award. So it's kind of funny. And it's about the reporter, like, I can't vouch that he's a good guy, but that he did whatever. And so it's all these votes, and I don't know who votes. I don't know if it's the listeners vote or other people vote or whatever votes. And I believe, was it Duggan won this time and Leonard came in second, or Dunleavy comes? It doesn't matter. But then they listed everybody that got a vote for the Giants insider reporters and things like that. And one of the people that got a vote was Inside BBI's Eric. So congratulations. You were listed as one of the people for the best Giants inside reporters.
Is this like Michael in Arrested Development when he was running for student president, and he got like 1 or 2 votes or something like that? You know, I don't know if you know Arrested.
I know what you're talking about. I've literally done. We
got to pull the tape.
I've literally done voting stuff where there was like a thing where I knew a bunch of other people were like, I'm not even going to bother voting for that. So I would just write my name in just so I could see if it would show up on the list of people who got a vote.
Yeah. None of the above. I was none of the above.
Nice,
Anyway.
nice.
All right. One person.
So anyway, so
It was my wife.
congratulations.
She voted.
So congratulations, Eric. You got mentioned on there, so that was pretty cool. Hey, it's been a shitty Giants year, but it's been a good year for us. The show has grown. We've done a lot. We had a lot of good guests on during 2025. Carl Banks, Phil Sims. We had Perry Williams on during this time. I mean, Mark Collins came back on during the offseason. We had a lot of good stuff. With the draft shows were great. Cy has been awesome when he's come on. So appreciate everybody who's been following us along. We're gonna keep. At some point, we hope to be doing shows where the Giants are winning.
Yeah. If they don't, we should do a show just on BBI crap. We should do something fun on
sure,
funny moments in BBI history, or we should have like Larry has talked about just coming on and just talking about Giants history, but like not make it like one season or one thing, but just great moments and stuff. And we can keep it more recent for everyone who remembers stuff like the Eli Manning years or stuff like that.
I'm still thinking we got to do a movie one. I really want to associate a bad movie to a Giants bad season. Like I because I mean I've got.
We'd have to incorporate more than one movie in that.
Well, there's a lot of bad seasons.
Yeah,
I mean, we got a whole bunch,
Yeah.
So, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. But it's great if you can like, subscribe, comment, all that.
Yeah, and I think as Optimus said, I think John and I have to be ready in the next couple of weeks for a multiple, keep them short if we can, breaking news type of things, because I think we're going to hear stuff that we're going to need to really comment on in the next few weeks. Next week, maybe, as soon as Optimus is guessing Tuesday, and he might be right. We might have to jump on and say yay or holy crap or react somehow. Then
I can use something like this. I could do my
breaking news. Yes, we have to get that. By the way, did we ever get sound effects? I thought you said we had. I don't see the sound effects.
Yeah!
Wait, how do you?
Oh, we got to play that if somebody gets fired.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that? All right.
Okay, so on the media piece, down below background, it should be sounds.
Okay, well, we'll talk offline. I don't know. It's a good thing if you told me that exists, because I'll play with that too much. All right. On that night, as you say, like, subscribe,
all that good stuff. Now I got an echo, so I don't know how that happened, but cool. That being said, we're out of here. We'll be back, and if there is breaking news, we'll jump in. Good luck tomorrow, Giants. Come up short.
Raiders, stay healthy.
Pull it out, Raiders. You win that game. You teach them right before you get fired. Just win that game. That's what I want. I want the Raiders to win. So, and then other than that, we'll catch you again real soon. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.